Pricing psychology. There are tons of studies that have been done on pricing, looking at very minute tactical differences, such as whether you have .99 cents at the end of your prices, or whether you're putting the dollar sign in your menu, or whether you're putting the dollar sign on a certain size, or whether you're putting numbers next to larger numbers or next to smaller numbers. There are tons of pricing tactics related to psychology, and all of these are outlined by somebody who does a much better job than I would be able to, and that's Nick Kolenda. So he's looked at very robust academic studies. So for example, there was a study done at Cornell University looking at price differences in menus and how that increased people's propensities to purchase more at a restaurant. Very, very credible studies that have been done. So that's why I'm just directing you to his website. You can download the PDF. It's a summary of all these very different academically supported approaches to pricing psychology. I've implemented some wide-scale pricing tactics changes at companies. So for example, I did it for a Google-backed startup. I've run A/B tests, but cases are going to be different from company to company. So what I recommend is start by looking at this great summary. He has excellent visuals to show the differences in approaches that you can use, outlines the psychological factors in a very detailed way. And one thing that I will say is do not make wide-scale assumptions. So look at these tactics, test them out. They may not work in your case. So A/B testing with something like Google Optimize would be an excellent choice. You can use Optimizely if your company is a bit larger and is ready for something a little more sophisticated. What I will say is, from my experience, is that the pricing page of your website is going to be one of the most frequently viewed places that people visit. So very, very important to optimize that. The other thing I would say is that in general, you want your pricing to be very simple. There was a famous quote from, I believe, the CEO of Zoom talking about how there are lots of things that you can play around with, but pricing is not something you want to make too complicated. It's something that needs to be very simple, whether your pricing is based on the number of users or how frequently people use your software. Definitely worth the time to test, because I've seen cases with companies where simply dropping the price can lead to a huge increase in the pipeline revenue for your business. The opposite is also true. Sometimes increasing the prices is the most strategically intelligent decision to make. I believe it was McKinsey that concluded from looking at a lot of large companies that in most cases, when there is a pricing issue, it's typically that the prices are simply too low. You're leaving too much money on the table. So this is a place where you really have a strong opportunity to use psychological principles to anchor your price in a way that's appropriate, to incentivize people to actually make that purchase. So often this happens in the middle of the funnel, so it may not necessarily be primarily on your website. So for example, if you're selling a product that has a free trial, your website may be treated as kind of a top of funnel channel to get people to sign up for the product, and then the pricing tactics are something that may become more involved when you're doing the email nurturing, when you have SDRs reaching out to those people, when you're having a summary presentation from the account executive talking to the potential buyer. It really depends on the case. So in e-commerce, when you're dealing with more impulse purchases, and you're driving people from your ad directly to make purchases, the pricing tactics are going to be more important in the beginning, early stages of the marketing. So I do recommend doing a lot of tests. I think seasonality is going to play a strong role as well. It's going to depend on when you have your sales. So for example, for a lot of retailers, maybe 1/3 of their sales come in the holiday season. So it might be a bit risky to run tests around that time. Maybe more effective to do it perhaps in springtime or in February to kind of see what works, and then implement them in a more low risk way when you're going to get the bulk of your sales during the holiday season. So please take a look at this PDF, do some tests yourself, implement it in your designs, and good luck.